Delirium by Lauren Oliver, Chapter 3. Lord, help us root our feet to the earth and our eyes to the road, and always remember the fallen angels who, attempting to soar, were seared instead by the sun and, wings melting, came crashing back to the sea. Lord, help root my eyes to the earth and stay my eyes to the road, so I may never stumble. Psalm 24, from Prayer and Study, the Book of My aunt insists on walking me down to the laboratories, which, like all government offices, are lumped together along with the wharves, a string of bright white buildings glistening like teeth over the slurping mouth of the ocean. When I was little and had just moved in with her, she used to walk me to school every day. My mother, sister, and I lived close to the border, and I was amazed and terrified by all the winding, darkened streets, which smelled like garbage and old fish. I always wished for my aunt to hold my hand, but she never did, and I balled my hands into fists and followed the hypnotic swish of her corduroy pants, dreading the moment that St. Anne's Academy for Girls would rise up over the crest of the final hill, the dark stone building lined with fissures and cracks like weather-beaten face of one of the industrial fishermen who work along the docks. It's amazing how things change. I'd been terrified of the streets of Portland then, and reluctant to leave my aunt's side. Now I know them so well I could follow their dips and curves with my eyes closed, and today I want nothing more than to be alone. I can smell the ocean, though it's concealed from view by the twisting undulations of the streets, and it relaxes me. The salt blowing off the sea makes the air feel textured and heavy. Remember, she's saying for the thousandth time. They want to know about your personality, yes, but the more generalized your answer, the better chance you have of being considered for a variety of positions. My aunt has always talked about marriage with words straight out of the book of words like duty, responsibility, and perseverance. Got it, I say. A bus barrels past us. The crest for St. Anne's Academy is stenciled along its side, and I duck my head quickly, imagining Cara McNamara or Hillary Packer staring out over the dirt-crusted windows, giggling and pointing at me. Everyone knows I'm having my evaluation today. Only 4 are offered throughout the year, and all slots are determined well in advance. The makeup Aunt Carol insisted I wear makes my skin feel coated and slick. In the bathroom mirror at home, I thought I looked like a fish, especially with my hair all pinned with metal bobby pins and clips, a fish with a bunch of metal hooks sticking in my head. I don't like makeup, have never been interested in clothes or lip gloss. My friend Hannah thinks I'm crazy, but of course she would. She's absolutely gorgeous. Even when she just twists her blonde hair into a messy knot on top of her head, she looks as though she's just had it styled. I'm not ugly, but I'm not pretty either. Everything is in between. I have eyes that aren't green or brown, but a muddle. I'm not thin, but I'm not fat either. The only thing you could definitely say about me is this: I'm short. If they ask you, God forbid, about your cousins, remember to say that you didn't know them well. I'm only half listening. It's too hot for June, and sweat is prickling up already on my lower back and in my armpits, even though I slathered on deodorant this morning. To our right is Kesco Bay, which is hemmed by Peaks Island and Great Diamond Island, where the lookout towers are. Beyond that is open ocean, and beyond that, all the crumbling countries and cities ruined by the disease. Lena, are you even listening to me? Carol puts a hand on my arm and spins me in her direction. Blue, I parrot back at her. Blue is my favorite color, or green. Black is too morbid, red will set them on edge, pink is too juvenile, orange is too freakish. And the things you like to do in your free time. I gently slip away from her grasp. We've gone over this already. This is important, Lena, possibly the most important day of your whole life. I sigh. Ahead of me, the gates that bar the government labs swing open slowly with a mechanized whine. There's already a double line forming. On one side, the girls, and 50 feet away at a second entrance, the boys. I squint against the sun, trying to locate people I know, but the ocean has dazzled me and my vision is clouded by floating black spots. Lena, my aunt prompts me. I take a deep breath and launch into the spiel we've rehearsed a billion times. I like to work on the school newspaper. I'm interested in photography because I like the way it captures and preserves a single moment. I enjoy hanging out with my friends and attending concerts at Deering Oaks Park. I like to run and was co-captain of the cross-country team for 2 years. I hold the school record in the 5K event. I often babysit the younger members of my family, and I really like children. You're making a face, my aunt says. I love children, I repeat, plastering a smile on my face. The truth is, I don't like very many children except for Gracie. They're so bumpy and loud all the time, and they're always grabbing things and dribbling and wetting themselves. But I know I'll have to have children of my own someday. Better, Carol says. Go on. I finish. My favorite subjects are math and history, and she nods, satisfied. Lena! I turn around. Hannah is just climbing out of her parents' car, her blonde hair flying in wisps and waves around her, her semi-sheer tunic slipping off one tan shoulder. All the girls and boys lining up to enter the labs have turned to watch her. Hannah has that kind of power over people. Lena, wait! Hannah continues barreling down the street, waving at me frantically. Behind her, the car begins a slow revolution, back and forth, in the narrow drive, until it's facing the opposite direction. Hannah's parents' car is as sleek and dark as a panther. The few times we've ridden around in it together, I felt like a princess. Hardly anyone has cars anymore, and even fewer have cars that actually drive. Oil is strictly rationed and extremely expensive. Some middle-class people keep cars mounted in front of their houses like statues, frigid and unused, the tires spotless and unworn. Hi, Carol, Hannah says breathlessly, catching up to us. A magazine pops out of her half-open bag, and she stoops to retrieve it. It's one of the government publications, Home and Family. And in response to my raised eyebrows, she makes a face. My mom made me bring it. She said I should read it while I'm waiting for my evaluation. She said it will give the right impression. Hannah sticks her finger down her throat and mimes gagging. Hannah, my aunt whispers fiercely. The anxiety in her voice makes my heart skip. Carol hardly ever loses her temper, even for a minute. She whips her head around in both directions as though expecting to find regulators or evaluators lurking in the bright morning street. Don't worry, they're not spying on us. Hannah turns her back to my aunt and mouths to me, Yet. Then she grins. In front of us, the double line of girls and boys is growing longer, extending into the street. Even as the glass-fronted doors of the lab swish open and several nurses appear carrying clipboards and begin to usher people into the waiting rooms. My aunt rests one hand on my elbow lightly, quick as a bird. You'd better get in line, she says. Her voice is back to normal. I wish some of her calmness would rub off on me. And Lena? Yes? I don't feel very well. The labs look far away, so white I can hardly stand to look at them, the pavement shimmering hot in front of us. The words, most important day of your life, keep repeating in my head. The sun feels like a giant spotlight. Good luck. My aunt does her 1 millisecond smile. Thanks. I kind of wish Carol would say something else, something like, I'm sure you'll do great, or try not to worry. But she just stands there, blinking, her face composed and unreadable as always. Don't worry, Mrs. Tittle, Hannah winks at me. I'll make sure she doesn't screw up too badly. Promise. All my nervousness dissipates. Hannah is so relaxed about the whole thing, so nonchalant and normal. Hannah and I go down toward the labs together. Hannah is almost 5'9". When I walk next to her, I have to do a half skip every other step to keep up with her and wind up feeling like a duck bobbing up and down in the water. Today I don't mind, though. I'm glad she's with me. I'd be a complete wreck otherwise. God, she says, as we get close to the lines, your aunt takes this whole thing pretty seriously, huh? Well, it is serious. We join the back of the line. I see a few people I recognize, some girls I know vaguely from school, some guys I've seen playing soccer behind Spencer Prep, one of the boys' schools, and a boy looks my way and sees me staring. He raises his eyebrows, and I drop my eyes quickly, my face going all hot at once, and a nervous itch working its way in my stomach. You'll be paired in less than 3 months, I tell myself. But the words don't mean anything and seem ridiculous, like one of the Mad Lib games we played as children that always resulted in nonsensical statements. I want banana for speedboat. Give my wet shoe to your blistering cupcake. Yeah, I know. Trust me. I've read the book of Shh as much as anyone. Hannah pushes her sunglasses up on top of her forehead and bats her eyelashes at me, making her voice super sweet. Evaluation day is the exciting rite of passage that prepares you for a future of happiness, stability, and partnership. She drops her sunglasses back down on her nose and makes a face. You don't believe it? I lower my voice to a whisper. Hannah has been strange recently. She was always different from other people, more outspoken, more independent, more fearless. It's one of the reasons I first wanted to be her friend. I've always been shy and afraid that I'll do or say the wrong thing. Hannah is the opposite. But lately, it's been more than that. She stopped caring about school, for one thing, and has been called to the principal's office several times for talking back to the teachers. And sometimes, in the middle of talking, she'll stop, just shut her mouth as though she's run up against a barrier. Other times, I'll catch her staring out at the ocean as if she's thinking of swimming away. Looking at her now, at her clear gray eyes and her mouth as thin and taut as a bowstring, I feel a tug of fear. I think of my mother floundering for a second in the air before dropping like a stone into the ocean. I think about the face of the girl who dropped from the laboratory roof all those years ago, her cheek turned against the pavement. I will away thoughts of the illness. Hannah isn't sick. She can't be. I would know. If they really want us to be happy, they'd let us pick ourselves, Hannah grumbles. Hannah, I say sharply. Criticizing the system is the worst offense there is. Take it back. She holds up her hands. All right, I take it back. You know it doesn't work. Look how it was in the old days. Chaos all the time, fighting and war. People were miserable. I said I'd take it back. She smiles at me, but I'm still mad and I look away. Besides, I go on, they do give us a choice. Usually, the evaluators generate a list of 4 or 5 approved matches, and you're allowed to pick among them. This way, everyone is happy. In all the years that the procedure has been administered and the marriage is arranged, there have been fewer than a dozen divorces in Maine, less than 1,000 in the entire United States. And in almost all those cases, either the husband or wife was suspected of being a sympathizer and divorce was necessary and approved by the state. A limited choice, she corrects me. We get to choose from the people who they've chosen for us. Every choice is limited, I snap. That's life. She opens her mouth as though she's going to respond, but instead she just starts to laugh. Then she reaches down and squeezes my hand. 2 quick pumps and then 2 long ones. It's our old sign, a habit we developed in 2nd grade when one of us was scared or upset, a way of saying, I'm here, don't worry. Okay, don't get defensive. I love the evaluations, okay? Long live evaluation day. That's better, I say, but I'm still feeling anxious and annoyed. The line shuffles slowly forward. We pass the iron gates with their complicated crown of barbed wire and enter the long driveway that leads to the various lab complexes. We are headed for building 6C. The boys go to 6B, and the lines begin to curve away from each other. As we move closer to the front of the line, we get a blast of air conditioning every time the glass doors slide open and then hum shut. It feels amazing, like being momentarily dipped head to toe in a thin sheet of ice, popsicle style, and I turn around and lift my ponytail away from my neck, wishing it weren't so damn hot. We don't have air conditioning at home, just tall, gawky fans that are always sputtering out in the middle of the night. And most of the time, Carol won't even let us use those. They suck up too much electricity, she says, and we don't have any to spare. At last, there are only a few people in front of us. A nurse comes out of the building carrying a stack of clipboards and a handful of pens and begins distributing them along the line. Please make sure to fill out all the required information, she says, including your medical and family history. My heart begins to work its way up into my throat. The neatly numbered boxes on the page, last name, first name, middle initial, current address, age, collapse together. I'm glad Hannah is in front of me. She begins filling out the forms quickly, resting the clipboard on her forearm and her pen skating over the paper. Next. The doors whoosh open again, and a second nurse appears and gestures for Hannah to come inside. In the dark coolness beyond her, I can see a bright white waiting room with a green carpet. Good luck, I say to Hannah. She turns and gives me a quick smile, but I can tell she is nervous, finally. There's a fine crease between her eyebrows, and she's chewing on the corner of her lip. She starts to enter the lab and then turns abruptly and walks back to me, her face wild and unfamiliar looking, grabbing me with both shoulders, putting her mouth directly to my ear. I'm so startled, I drop my clipboard. You know you can't be happy unless you're unhappy sometimes, right? She whispers, and her voice is hoarse, as though she's just been crying. What? Her nails are digging into my shoulders, and at that moment I'm terrified of her. You can't really be happy unless you're unhappy sometimes. You know that, right? Before I can respond, she releases me, and she pulls me away. Her face is as serene and beautiful and composed as ever. She bends down to scoop up my clipboard, which she passes to me smiling. Then she turns around and is gone behind the glass doors, which open and close behind her as smoothly as the surface of the water, sucking closed over something that is sinking.